Good, Mr. President. This is your seat we have for you right here.
Okay. How are you? Nice to
I'm
see
very
you.
good. Nice to see you. We met at Mar-a-Lago a couple weeks ago.
I remember.
Yeah, you complimented my face. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down. I really do appreciate
Okay.
it. So I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll just we'll jump.
I haven't seen this yet. Tim looks comfortable. I like it, man. Shout out to Tim. That's dope. That's so dope. Even I have not heard it yet. I've heard some people talk about the interview, but before we get into it, shout out to Tim Cass and the whole crew. I mean, they kind of see the success through Tim to be able to sit down with Trump, man, and he sounds confident too. I like it.
Thanks for sitting down. I really do appreciate
Okay.
it. So I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll just we'll jump right in.
Okay, good.
We had a couple polls we went over on our show, IRL. Young people, surprisingly, immigration is a top issue for them now. I was talking to a young guy, he's 26. He says he's watching what's going on in New York. He owns a business. He can't afford to buy his own house. He struggles to be able to support a family. And I know that you've said that there's going to be the largest deportation effort in your next term. How do we do it?
So millions and millions of people are coming into our country, and it's not necessarily exactly what we want or had in mind. They have open borders where people just flow in, and many of those people are coming from prisons. Many of those people, frankly, are murderers and they're drug dealers, and they're coming from mental institutions, and they're coming from places that are not going to work very well. It's not going to be very good for our country. So we're going to start with that, and we have to get them out. No country can sustain what we're going through. I believe the number is 15, 16 million, could even be 17 million people right now.
Is
That's more than that's bigger than almost all of our states.
I think it's freaking out young people. How do we do it though? I mean, is it going to be
Good follow-up. Great first question. He laid out a little story that wasn't too long. Really good. This is not an easy moment for interviewing. Oh, solid start by Tim. And then Trump goes through the talking points because he doesn't really detail. I mean, he's not going to want to detail the deportation. That's not an easy thing. You want to more just sell the idea. It would have to take, I don't even think an executive order could do it. It would have to take Congress. Before we hear Trump's answer, I did look it up. Executive orders. Would it take an executive order or Congress as well, legislatively? It looks like both. Scope of executive authority. The president has significant authority over immigration through executive orders. The president can direct federal agencies like ICE to prioritize certain groups for deportation. I'm not for the federal government having that power there, and that's executive power. There are limits to what can be achieved through executive orders alone. The president cannot change immigration laws, of course, or create new categories of deportable aliens without congressional approval. So you're going to need both. Historical precedents, again, of this large mass deportation. Previous large-scale deportation programs, such as Operation Wetback in 1950s, wow, that was kind of savage, were created out with both, they called it Operation Wetback, damn, were carried out with both, life was different back then, man, both executive and congressional support. Practical challenges implementing mass deportation could face a lot of logistical challenges, resistance from local and state governments. Trump has talked about that before. My big thing is who's paying for it. And it's got to come out of the agency's budget. I am not for any type of, or Department of Defense. I am not for any increase in spending, because if you do the deportation and increase spending, all that does is encourage more illegal immigration down the road. Because if they have to do deportation, the agency, whether it's I don't know where the money would come from, it's up to Congress. If it would come from the executive branch, ICE, or whoever, if they don't have to pay for it, then there's no consequences. Those departments will have to pay for it, or I'm not for it. I would want it to happen, but I'm not for extra spending at all.
New personnel?
It will really be done with local police. The respect has been taken away. The honor has been taken away from our police forces. They're not allowed to do anything. And whether it's libertarian or not libertarian, you have to have law and order. You can't have 500 people walking into a department store and just walking out with everything they have. And we have to give honor and respect back, and I believe immunity, because so often when a police person does their job, they end up with no pension, they end up with no house, they end up with no family. Everything's taken away from them. They have to get their own lawyer. So we're going to give them back their dignity and their strength. The local police know the criminals that we're talking about. They know their first name, their middle name, and their last name. They know everything about them. And we're going to have to let them do that. And they will bring them in. We have no choice. And these are in many cases. And
I like this idea because it obviously would not play in these blue states, but who cares? That's kind of like my idea of if California wants open borders, they can have open borders. I know it plays a problem because we still have a federal government, and then now everyone's paying into the system. But if you don't want that, then I'm fine with breaking it up. I've been saying that. So I'm still, even with the federal government intact where the way it is now, I'm still okay with, if California wants to have open borders, California can have open borders. So what Trump is saying is, I'm going to work with the local areas that want to work with me. He can't force them to. And that's a good way of unifying those areas that should be unified now. So you could have a Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska unified. If we see these illegals, they don't come through here because it's a wrap. If they want to go to California, they can go to California. But you got to make sure you keep the federal dollars, no pandemic money type stuff handed out. That's how they're able to do a lot of this stuff. It's very expensive to house these illegals.
And this is from all over the world, not just South America, which is big enough. But they're coming in from the Congo. They're coming in from all parts of Africa. They're coming in from all parts of Asia. And it's an invasion into our country. And no country can handle this. So we're going to have them taken out. Local police, we're going to work very closely with the local police. And it's been done before. We had Dwight Eisenhower, believe it or not, did the biggest deportation.
What was it called?
Pretty much stopped it.
Remember, I Like Ike, you were around then, right?
I like Ike.
I like Ike.
Right. A lot of people like Ike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, he deported, as you rightly pointed out, about 1 million, maybe a little bit more, illegal aliens back in the early 50s. Do you know what the program was called?
Well, now they think it's 2.2 million.
All right, whatever it might have been. Do you know what the program was called?
I do, but I wouldn't use the term. I don't like the term at all.
No, that's in English. But the formal thing is the Bracero program. But believe me when I tell you, Mr. Trump, that was brutal what they did to those people to kick them back. The stuff they did was really brutal. It could never happen today.
I've heard it both ways. I've heard good reports. I've heard bad reports. We would do it in a very humane way.
Strange that we mentioned Eisenhower because you don't think of him that way, but he did a massive deportation where people were pouring in.
Visit the member section on YouTube and you'll find the full uninterrupted reaction. Appreciate you. Peace.
Middle MAGA.